And we give this one a yeah as well, right?
Yes. You see, I was wondering if one of these would get a yeah from one or down the gutter from the other. That would have been very interesting. But of course, both of them were.
Both of us liked both of them, I think.
Yeah, I would say Pinocchio is the best book.
I think Pinocchio was the better book. This version had lovely illustrations as well. Both books had nice illustrations, but Pinocchio had more. I mean, that might just be because the book was longer. Like, the book's over 300 pages.
The book was getting a bit long for me. I never felt that with The Little Prince. So I would give that to The Little Prince. That was like, oh, this was the perfect length. I was really happy about it. Pinocchio was more fun.
Pinocchio's more fun. I think it's a bit more of the... both are to an extent. The Little Prince could be read more as a novel, whereas Pinocchio, it's more like one thing after another, like that picaresque style, which I think generally isn't your favourite. You know, like a Don Quixote style. Like, instead of just a fluid narrative, it's kind of like, we did this one thing, then we did this other one thing, and Pinocchio's got a lot of that in it.
Yeah, I think the way I would, if I were to read it again, I'd have to go into it thinking it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. It is going to be a little bit insane, a little bit crazy, go from one thing to the next. And I think looking at it that way, it's quite good. Is there really anything to say?
We have to talk about the donkeys.
Damn it! Donkeys! Donkeys!
We watched David Copperfield with the donkeys, and it's relevant to this book.
Yes, not even because of the ending, but because of the beginning. When we just have one guy yelling at Geppetto, like, just calling him a donkey. It's great.
Yeah, so there's a guy who's got the wood, he brings it to Geppetto, they have a fight, then Geppetto eventually, builds the wood or carves it into Pinocchio. But they call each other donkeys and ugly monkeys and various things during the fight.
Or something.
Yeah.
I do like that twice in here, basically it says, after this fight, Master Antonio had 2 more scratches on his nose and Geppetto had 2 buttons missing from his coat. Thus, having settled their accounts, they shook hands and swore to be good friends for the rest of their lives. That happened, like, the previous page as well. Like, yeah, this is great. I love that they fight and just become good friends again. Also in Chapter 3, Geppetto gets arrested and sent to jail.
Yeah, so this happens twice. Once with Geppetto and once with Pinocchio. They just get sent to jail for really no reason. But I want to take a step back. Was this what you expected?
There are a few different things.
I didn't know much about it other than maybe some vague memory of, like, the Disney movie or whatever.
All I knew was the Disney movie, yeah.
All I remember was, like, I'm not a puppet, I'm a real boy, and then I thought he was going to tell lots of lies and his nose was going to grow. But there's a whole lot of more stuff going on in this that I didn't know about.
So the donkey bit definitely happens in the Land of Lost Toys. There's, of course... Well, it's a whale in the Disney movie, shark in this one. Although it was a much bigger plot point in the Disney movie.
Okay, I don't remember the movie really at all.
For this one, the fox and the cat are in it, but I can't remember much about it.
Okay.
Of course, you have Jiminy Cricket, who is his conscience in the movie. He doesn't really exist here. His ghost does after he kills him, it seems like.
Well,
but then comes back at the end.
I was wondering if he just failed to kill him or something magic had happened. But
there's a ghost. Well, you can't ask questions in this book. Because, like, well, why is there a talking fox? Why is there a talking fish? Like,
I guess you just accept what it gives you. And the characters do. They just accept whatever comes to them.
Yeah. There's dogs that are carabiners and...
Yeah. So Geppetto makes the marionettes, and then one of the first things that happens is he runs off into the street, and as you say, Geppetto gets arrested. It's really, they're just like, Geppetto's a nice guy, but we think he might be mean to kids. And then based on just that alone, they arrest him.
I understand that one, because it's like, well, this guy was just running through the street, or, well, this marionette. So maybe he was abusing him to some extent. I can see that a bit more than when Pinocchio got arrested. Pinocchio gets arrested after saying to a judge, like, yes, these people stole my 4 gold coins.
And they just arrest him.
It's like, so we're going to arrest you for this. And it's like, why?
That makes no sense, yeah. He has to live part of the book then without Geppetto, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And he, like, falls asleep, and, like, his feet get burnt off, and Geppetto comes back in and fixes him up and makes him some breakfast. sends him to school. This was sad. Geppetto was like, well, we've got to get you an ABC book so you can go to school.
Yeah,
gives him the
so
book,
sweet.
has to sell his coat to pay for the book, and Pinocchio's like, well, I guess I'm going to sell this book to get me into marionette theatre school.
But then, right after that, we see a picture of Geppetto just shivering at home alone, wondering where Pinocchio is. It's so sad.
And Pinocchio's off to the marionette theatre. But the leader of the theatre, Fire Eater, after almost killing him, eventually gives him the gold coins and says, go back to Geppetto, like, here's some money, and then everything should be fine.
But of course he shows this to Fox and Cat afterwards, and they try to trick him.
I think
and assassinate him.
The problem is that he's got good intentions, but is a stupid child.
Yes.
And I suppose the book is trying to teach kids many things, like to look after your parents and not to be mischievous and go to school and don't lie, and various messages for the kids in the book.
I would say, definitely at the beginning, though, he has no good intentions still. I would say that, he's going, he's gave his coat for this book, and he's just going to sell it to have some fun. There's no good intention there.
Cat and the Fox tell him to bury some gold coins, but then they return as assassins to kill him. And we see one here, he's hanging from the tree. They've hanged him.
Yep. Now, in this one, the blue fairy, or the fairy with azure hair, is a much bigger character. She even becomes his mother.
So it's very strange, yeah. Well, first, one line that I love is when he's explaining about the cat and the fox, and he notices that the assassin has a cat's hand, and still is unable to realise that it was the cat and the fox.
He bit the hand off completely. And then the cat shows up later, missing a hand, and the fox says, yes, but the cat was such a good heart, cut off his hand because this other one was starving so much, so he gave it away.
Pinocchio's like, cool, sounds legit, you know?
Yeah. He's just so kind.
But yeah, the fairy... So I was a bit confused. It almost felt rushed in the beginning. Like, he bonds with the fairy with the azure hair, and then they're just like, cool, you're my sister, initially. Then, when he leaves, she's so heartbroken that she dies. She's like 200 years old, and she immediately just dies because her new brother leaves her. But then she returns almost immediately, older, and is now his mother.
Yes.
It's kind of weird, but...
A little bit. Lots of things happen. There is basically one point in here when Pinocchio's talking with Geppetto, and it just explains the entire book.
But yeah, Geppetto doesn't understand it all, of course.
Yeah. Well, it basically just tells you that here's a summary of the book. You could read... it just talks about went with the fox and the cat to the field of wonders to bury the gold pieces. The parrot laughed at me. Instead of 2,000 gold pieces, I found none. When the judge heard I had been robbed, he sent me to jail to make the thieves happy. And when I came away, I saw a fine bunch of grapes hanging on a vine. The trap caught me, and the farmer put a collar on me and made me a watchdog. He found out I was innocent when I caught the weasels, and he let me go. The serpent with the tail that smoked started to laugh, and a vein in his chest broke, and so I went back to the fairy's house. She was dead, and the pigeon, seeing me crying, said to me, I have seen your father building a boat to look for you in America. And I said to him, only if I had wings. And he said to me, do you want to go to your father? And I said, perhaps, but how? And he said, get on my back, I'll take you there. It's just like...
Yeah, you're just recapping.
You're just recapping the entire book here. I keep going, but...
There's a couple of important things there that you mentioned. The dad building the boat, for example. It's very sad as well. Geppetto was like, well, I better go after my son then. I'll build this tiny little boat and go into the storm to almost certainly get killed, like, in the sea.
And he nearly does. And he gets eaten up by a shark. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize 2 years had passed between him...
Yeah.
So he's in the shark's belly for 2 years.
Pinocchio's off to various shenanigans. At one point, of course...
He's studying.
He does eventually go to school, but then runs off with his friend.
And he nearly became a real boy then.
Yeah. Runs off with his friend. He becomes a donkey instead. Donkeys! And in the toy land place, I think the idea was that the longer they stayed, they would turn into donkeys and have to pull the sleigh or whatever. And there is an interesting part where he's trying to make money, and everyone says, sure. He's like, I want one gold piece. And he's like, I'll give you 4 if you help me with this day's work.
Yes.
And he's like, I don't know about that. Probably not, to be fair. He turns down 4 offers of work until the fairy finds him again.
Yeah. That's early on.
I empathized with him there, for sure.
What? It's like, oh my goodness, it's so easy to actually make some money. Come on, just do it.
But yeah, of course, he becomes a real boy at the end. Spoiler alert.
At the end, at the very least, he realizes that his father's been through a lot. He even gets, I think it was 50 cents And then he hears that the fairy's in a hospital, really, really sick. So he gives all the money to her, and then goes home. And instead of making like 6 baskets a day, he makes 12 or something.
Yeah,
staying up all
he
night
doesn't
just
just
to make as much money to help her out. And
Is this book teaching us to work hard?
there is a bit of that, yes. Teaching people to work hard, be responsible.
Obey your parents.
And, yeah, of course, obey your parents. And just be good members of society.
I mean, that's fair. I think both books have good messages for kids, and both were really enjoyable reads, even for us. So, thank you very much to Carla.
Yes.